Hey guys, welcome to a new YouTube video of us. Today we're going to talk about home workouts and we're going to show you a couple of exercises or several exercises that you can use in your home workouts to make it more effective and to still see progress even when you're training at home and with minimal equipment. Aside of those exercises that we're going to show you, we're also going to talk about how to make your program challenging for your home workouts, so that or your home workout program challenging. So we're going to talk about different methods that you can use to increase intensity for an exercise and for your overall workout. So the first step that we want to talk about, and this is not only important for your home workout but for a general training program, you want to determine your goals. You need to set your goals, choose one goal or several goals, but not too many. To actually know what the program should look like and to actually know what you're working towards. So then when you set your goals, to determine your goals, you need a program that takes your goals into consideration, and your training program should reflect your goals and your current capacity, meaning your current fitness or strength level. With a program and clear structure, it is easier to track your progress, stay on track, and eventually see the results. The best case would be to adjust your program according to your progress and stick to the primary exercises for 4 to 8 weeks, so depending on your level and the progress you're making. You want to progressively increase the load or increase the intensity of an exercise or your training program in general, which means you want to progressively, for example, be able to do more push-ups or increase the intensity or the progression of the push-up. If you have the handstand as the goal, you want to progressively be able to stand longer or to balance longer in a handstand. If running is, or any type of endurance training is a goal of yours, then you want to be able to progressively run faster. So with that being said, there is also the possibility that you don't make any progress because you're sticking to the same training program, the same training loads, the same training intensity for a very long time, let's say 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 15 weeks. You're doing something for your health, and that's great. But if you're in there for making progress in terms of strength, performance, or building muscles or whatever, then you need to just get that increase in intensity, or that like a new training stimulus. So what I talked about in the first slide was to increase the intensity regularly, or the volume, or just progressively overload over time. In a good training program, that will happen eventually, but it is a little bit harder at home because you don't have as much equipment, or usually people don't have as much equipment. So with minimal equipment or weights, you need other ways to increase the training stimulus and intensity over time to create an increase in performance or muscle tissue, so like muscle mass. So at home with minimal equipment, you have to find other ways to stimulate and increase intensity, which is something that should happen in the gym naturally, but it can be a little bit harder at home. So there are several ways to increase intensity. That's by using methods like increased sets and reps, more time under tension, decreased rest in between sets, supersets, giant sets, these kind of things. Also things like M-reps, EMOMs, or varying tempos. That's like, you see that arrow, more time under tension, that's where you can use tempos as well. For example, in the eccentric phase, isometric contractions, and then also working with RPE or RIR, so you can actually know at which training intensity you're currently working. Another way is to just increase the progression of an exercise, or increase the difficulty of an exercise, not the progression. So you use the push-up example. If you do regular push-ups and they feel too easy, then you could do feet elevated push-ups. You could use tempo push-ups, so slow eccentric phase, isometric contraction at the bottom, feet pointed push-ups, or lean a little bit more forward, so shoulders are above the wrists if you have the capacity in your wrist flexion, wrist extension in this case. So these are, for example, some examples for the push-up. So just talking about tempo, because I think that's something really cool to utilize at home, especially when you don't have a lot of equipment. They're basically like slow eccentric contractions, isometric holds or contractions. They're best friend at home, and they can also be very beneficial in a gym setting. But at home, tempo is almost key. Like, you can get so much out of that. You can use it basically in any exercise you can think of. So slow eccentric push-ups, iso hold at the bottom position. When you have lighter weights, you can also use them for squats, deadlifts, RDLs, hip thrusts, and really great to actually get your first push-up or to get your first pull-up, and also increase your number of repetitions for pull-ups, for example. Here are two studies about eccentric contractions, eccentric exercises. So obviously in a regular gym setting, you don't have to bother too much about it, because concentrics are still great, but you have actually higher force generation, maximum force produced, and energy cost is lower, and maximum force production is higher during the eccentric phase. So that's actually really cool, and you can use that specifically in this time where you don't have a lot of weights, and use that to your advantage. So when it comes to our favorite home workout equipment, probably have to say resistance bands. Obviously it would be great to have something like kettlebells, dumbbells, and they're a great thing to utilize as well. But most of our clients, for example, when they work at home, they have maybe one kettlebell, but they have resistance bands, and you can do a lot of work with resistance band, because they, one, increase your resistance and intensity, meaning they can be used for a number of things like push-ups, squats, deadlifts, and increase the intensity and resistance of this exercise significantly if used correctly. And again, you can also use the tempo with these. And another good reason for resistance bands is you can actually do more pulling exercises. Almost all pulling exercises rely on some kind of equipment, and resistance bands are a good way and a simple way to actually get some pulling movement in, like rows, lat pull downs, by just using the bands. So you're still able to do pulling exercises even if you don't have the big weights at home. Okay, then next up we have training days and training splits. So you don't have to use this kind of training thing that I laid out here. It's just an idea. So you can have full body, a full body day. You can split full body into squat and pull, for example, and push and hinge, or you can also do squat and push and hinge and pull, like lower body hinge or bend, like things like deadlifts, and then upper body pulling exercises. You can also, if that's something you would prefer, do like only lower body, only upper body, and then you can have a day of aerobic or anaerobic conditioning. So the reason I like to do a combination of upper and lower body or some kind of full body training is because you have less weights and less resistance. You can still get a good training stimulus if you work on both things. And then also feel a little bit more, let's say, fatigued, or like you've done something. It can be a little bit more fun if you're not only working on one thing, but a couple of movements or several different movement patterns. Especially at home when training sometimes is not as much fun as in the gym. So not super relevant for training programming, but relevant for making gains. So even if you're doing home workouts, your nutrition matters, so quality nutrition is key. We have two hot tips here. That means even if you're training at home and you feel like you're not burning as many calories, you don't want to exclude a single macronutrient, whether that be fat or carbs. Protein is usually the one that's always in one's diet, but people tend to eliminate either carbs or fat, so you don't need to do that. The extent to which you eat the macronutrients are dependent on you individually, on your calorie expenditure daily and your energy expenditure. So number 2 is restriction of calories is not going to improve your performance and progress at home. So fuel for what you do. That means unless you're trying to cut, like to lose weight, you really want to make sure that you actually hit the requirements that you need to actually make the progress you want. So if your goal is to improve your performance or to build muscle at home, then really try to fuel for what you do, and especially around your training. So you want to make sure you fuel before your training and after your training, especially after your training, to make sure you're giving your body what it needs. So you won't actually go fast, like you fast after your training in hopes that you will see some kind of progress, or you don't have the time to eat after your training. That will actually diminish your progress and your performance. So you really try to make sure you be conscious about your nutrition, and then up here you will see the protein, carbs, and fat and why they're important. So next up we have recovery and rest, and it's really important. Training at home is still stressful for the body, so even though it can feel like it's not as much as you would do in the gym or in your regular sport, it's still stress for the body. What's really important is you still need good quality sleep, you still need rest days, and you can think of doing some active recovery, for example having one rest day and one active recovery day, something like that. Again, it really depends on how much you're training. But really just try to have one day where you have conscious rest and not trying to move on purpose. Like you can still go for a walk, but not purposely trying to train, for example. Last but not least, we have a couple of quick tips for your home workout. So one is make the time. Mark it in your calendar or phone and really plan your training for that hour, not hat hour, but that hour. So or more, like if you say, okay, I'm working out for 1.5 hours, then make the time for that and try to do that without disruptions or excuses. So stay focused is also part of make that time. Stay focused, avoid household chores like cleaning, cooking, laundry during your set training time. So if you're like, okay, I'm having 2 minutes of rest, I'm just gonna clean up the kitchen real quick, because in the end, it will just distract you from your training. So really avoiding these kind of things and staying focused during your training will make your training more effective and efficient. It will help you stay more focused on what you're doing, and will actually maybe even help you to achieve your goals faster because you're more focused and you put more effort and attention into your training. Then make your workouts fun. Especially at home, it can be harder to actually find the motivation to train. So while you're focusing on your goals and the exercises you need to achieve them, also make sure you're sprinkling fun parts. And that can be something like an EMOM or just different exercises that you haven't done before but always wanted to try or always wanted to do. Or just dancing around, or running or sprinting or doing some kind of jumps or these kind of things, or learning a handstand. This can all lead to actually looking forward to your workouts at home. So, and that one, have a set program to follow. That is the very first thing that we established. Determine your goals, and regardless of if you have specific performance goals or general fitness goals or aesthetic goals, you need a program to follow. Otherwise you'll just be running around in circles and not knowing where you're going, and then you will get frustrated and think like, oh, this doesn't work for me. But in reality, it's just something that you need to follow that works for you, so that you can actually reach your goals a little bit faster, or reach your goals at all, and not be frustrated or demotivated. And now we will show you a couple of home workout exercises and progressions for a couple of exercises. Back in 2020, we made a little home workout program for free for everyone, and some of the exercises are taken from a home workout program, and others are just from our experience during the time that we spent in lockdown or that we spent training at home.
So guys, as promised, we're going to show you some exercises that you can do at home with none to very minimal equipment. Obviously, there are tons of exercises out there, so we thought we're just going to show you a sweet variety of basics and more skilled movements. Single leg hip thrusts are great. As we have little to no weight at home, single leg stuff really loads your tissues more than if you would do it with 2 legs. This is a great one to build your hammies and glutes. Make sure to keep a PPT, guys. Bulgarian split squats, again, a single leg exercise you can do without weights or with small weights, but still feel challenged if you play around, especially for example with tempo or iso holds. Pistol squats are not only fun and a cool looking movement, but can also work on both legs simultaneously, since you work on bent leg hip flexion and straight leg hip flexion. If you are not that mobile yet, then just elevate yourself on a box and work from there and work your way down until you reach the ground. Really make sure, if you want to work on both legs, to keep the supporting leg straight and your quads engaged. Any kind of squats are fun and a good way to build strength and muscles. A really nice unilateral exercises are the shrimp squats. The closer the knee to your working leg, the more posterior chain engagement you will have. The more you lean over your knee and the further your knees are away from the working leg, the more quads you will feel. Except of rowing under your dinner table, it's hard to find a rowing movement you can do without any equipment. So try to use a resistance band, for example, and play with the tempo or some iso holds to get your back pumped and stronger. Push-ups in general are great, but gymnastic push-ups are not only looking much nicer, but also provides you with harder progression compared to the normal ones. Try to maintain a PPT and plantar flexed feet here. The more you lean forward, the harder it will get. If you're not able to do these yet, no problem, guys. Work on your normal push-ups first and play around with tempo or iso holds until you get stronger. The last exercise we wanted to show you guys here are some overhead pushing variations. Start with some pike push-ups on the ground and start getting stronger here before you progress towards getting your feet on an elevation. For example, in this case, on a box. If you finally are strong enough, then you will find yourself on the wall where you can do wall handstand push-ups. Always remember, guys, work with tempo here. Isometric holds or eccentrics only. It doesn't always have to be a full repetition. Always choose quality over quantity and not push yourself too hard so you won't get injured. Okay, guys, we hope you liked this video. If you liked it, please leave a subscribe or a like under this video. This helps us a lot and we appreciate your support and your feedback so much, guys. So if you are interested in building your own individualized home workout program, or if you want to work specifically on some skilled movements or some strength, or combine that everything with mobility training, click the free call button down below, book your free call with one of us, and we're happy to help you. So see you guys in the next one.